It was a really powerful and also fun film. And for me, actually, I saw your, earlier iteration of this project. Two black and white, artistic videos, merged into one, together with actually close to 100 portraits you shot in New Mexico. And actually, at the end of the film, you saw Shimin is laying out actually first, family photos, and then portraits later in a spiral shape. It reminds me also, spiral jelly, certain Smithsons. Those photographs were shown in the early exhibition, correct? And I would like to know, well, first of all, this is your first work maybe to deal with or focus on America and also American society, and how this project began in the earlier iteration, and how the earlier black and white film and photography project actually turned into a feature-length film.
I'm sorry, I can't see you very well because of this strong light, but I wanted to answer your question in two ways. First of all, I've always been very interested in this relationship between photography and dreams. I wanted to say there's something incredibly poetic about how photography, human portraits, are meant to be permanent. They stay forever. And we die, we leave the world, but what remains is our images. But with dreams, they're so ephemeral that every time you dream, they vanish very quickly. And they become a story, like she said. And I think that's I was very interested in how she was collecting dreams, she or me. At the same time, she was photographing people. And I think this is something very powerful, even today when I look at what is happening in the world. We look at these images of people vanishing. And so that's one thing I wanted to say. Human portrait for me is very powerful. And it was really the first time that I thought to do a project in America that involved simultaneously still photography, a video installation, and a movie, all under the same idea, same concept, same actress played in the video and in the movie, but each one designed for a completely different experience. And before I get into that, I have never made any work in this country. Usually I've made work outside of US, in Morocco, in Turkey, Mexico, Egypt, different places to pretend to be Iran. And so I operated under this nostalgic point of view, running over memory, etc. But I think it was during Trump presidency that I felt it was important for me to turn my lens toward America as an immigrant. And basically, I felt that I've always ran away from this country as if I didn't belong here, or I didn't have the license to say something about this country. But it was at the time where there was this huge Islamophobia, the issues with immigration, and the walls between Mexico and US. And so this came to me as an idea that an Iranian photographer, a woman, would go around in a state of New Mexico collecting people's dreams and taking their portraits. And that's exactly what I did. And the exhibition involved that.
Yes.
And to me, those portraits that you explained that are about 111, they became a portrait of America because I photographed people that are Native Americans, African Americans, white Americans, Hispanic, old, young, men, women, poor, middle class, from all facets of life. And we installed them together because me, as an immigrant, this diversity, this tapestry of images, characters, identities, were the very core of what America was about. That was now being questioned and being compromised. So for me, it was almost like an activist action of making a work that is called Land of Dreams, but really is poking fun about this land of dreams?
I guess that kind of activist part, which came out of your portrait practices, actually, that kind of came at the end of it in a way, to even reminded us in a way what this film can be all about. But then you also picked up, along the way, lots of American references, right? American, road film, images, and also the recurring image of restaurants, motels, and gasoline stations, right? And also, super conservative religious people, right? I mean, there's a lot of surprises. You gave a lot of details to, each narrative, in the film version. So a lot happened actually between your earlier work and also this film version. But seems to me, though, contents of the work seems to be more and more relevant to the society now. Do you have any comments on this? Yes.
There's a lot of questions in there. I think that the essential part of this film was about how we as Iranians, we as immigrants, exoticize America. I mean, the way in which I captured, or me and Shoja and all the people who worked on the film, the Southwest, the iconic, the image of the road movie, the motels, the gas stations, the car, the desert landscape, even the cowboy, the Allen, or everything was almost like a stereotype, in the way that Americans would go to Iran and would exoticize. And so what I always have in mind, and I think that I've always done in my work, is been to thread the very personal memories and experience of me as an Iranian with issues that are larger, above and beyond my little existence. I just want to explain the very last scene. All the time we're conflicted between Simin's own nightmare and past and memories, painful memories, and the reality in America. Much of it is also very painful, whether it's a phobia of the Mexican immigrants or the suburban blonde lady who is fearful of dying, or the Christian priest, or every one of these characters was somehow suffering in different notions. The pictures on the ground, to me, it sums up everything, which is she always distinguished between the humanity of hers as an Iranian. I'm that, I'm this. And then suddenly she sees all these other people, including the Native American, by the way, and she sees that we have so much in common, that her family portraits and the people she photographed at the end become images, these little minuscule images on this planet. And I think that is something that is utterly relevant today. And I think what you are hinting at is the American society and its image and its behavior and its behavior in relation to its own people and the people outside, within all its good. It's problematic. And so I think the image at the end is saying that the good and evil, the humanity lives everywhere. And it's not just the land of dreams. And yeah, I mean, I think the last scene for me, visually, without speaking, needing a word, is the conclusion, the resolution of the film, which for me, it's everything that I've finally come to terms with.
I also want to just quickly hear about actually the casting and also making of this film. I mean, it's a pretty fabulous cast. And how did you go about selecting, Matt Dillon and others?
I'm glad he's not here, but Matt Dillon just fit the character, that kind of, because we talked about earlier that in some ways Alan and Mark created this contradiction in American identity, which is Alan was this a modern cowboy, super macho and arrogant, and this air of superiority. He knows it all. And then Mark, William Mosley, is this dreamer, this pretty boy that was very romantic and naive, a kind of a modern hippie. So there's this two-sided of American identity that I see as this super tough and soft, and she in the middle of these two men, and infatuated by both kind of a masculine and feminine, I think. So when I was looking at casting, I mean, Matt Dillon became an obvious choice, because even when he rode the motorcycle instead of a horse, he just felt like he was just playing himself. But and William Mosley, who was British, when I saw him, he was like that perfectly pretty, gentle, beautiful boy. So I saw this contradiction between them. And then Sheila Van, this very distant, stoic, strange woman, Sheila Van can deliver that. So, and then of course Isabella Rossellini, who's like, I've always wanted to work with her. Anna Gunn, Christopher McDonald. We really were blessed, and we shot this film during the pandemic in New Mexico. Many of the people were really terrified of actually coming, but they did it, except Isabella played virtually.
Well, I think we have time for 3 questions. So it's very hard to see, anyone from here, but please raise your hand. Okay. Yes. You. Yes, in a gray sweater. Yes.
Hi, thank you so much. This was really delightful. I have one question that came to me toward the end of the film. Did you ever consider giving her a friend?
Say it again?
Did you ever consider giving her a friend?
Giving her a friend? You mean Sheila?
Because she feels...
Yeah, she had the 2 guys as friends. I just want to say, this, I told you at the beginning, this is a very strange film. And this is a very stylized film. And by no means she's normal. Nothing I make is normal. It would have been too normal if she had a friend. So I wanted her to be an oddball. And that she never really connected with anyone. But oddly, she connected with those guys for very different reasons.
Okay, gentlemen. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. Yes, you. Yes, in the center. Very hard to see.
I was wondering what color red means to you in your dreams.
Color red. Okay.
And why do you ask that? Was there a lot of...
Oh, I just noticed the color choices, the color palette of the film, and the red was so striking, and the dossier, the hair,
Yeah.
the singer, the legs. I mean, it was
Yes.
just it seemed important to me. I didn't.
First of all, there were even things maybe you didn't notice. Nancy, the woman who worked at the Census Bureau, she wore outfit red, white, and blue, the color. See, I knew you didn't get that. But the really idea was to do this kind of a tribute to Technicolor, kind of a road movie of a Southwestern, like Paris, Texas kind of Wim Wenders film, which is, for me, it's strange because I do black and white. But when you're looking at the Southwest and you think about this monotone landscape, you really needed to bring in some color into that palette. And so, and yeah, you're right, the singer also wore blood red, or the blonde woman. So yeah, actually in my photography, beside black and white, the red is the only other color I use because it's the color of blood.
Okay, over there. I guess the person in a baseball cap, no? Yes, it's you. Yes.
Yeah, I had 2 questions, but thank you. but I'll narrow them down. Can you just explain something about the genesis of the film with respect to how Mr. Carrière got involved?
Thank you for bringing that up. Originally, I came up with the idea that there is an crazy Iranian woman artist going around in a small town collecting dreams and working for the Census Bureau for the movie. And Jean-Claude lived in Paris, and I talked to him about the video and how super stylized that one was, and I made that, I showed it to him, and he said, okay, leave me, and I'll come back to you with the script in a few weeks. and so certainly he came up with, he created the character of Alan and Mark. So he created this triangle, which is completely Jean-Claude's creation. And the colony, originally I had it another way. He created it a little bit inspired by Mujahideen, some of the Iranians may have noticed. And most of all, he really added that level of satire, absurdity, and humor. Because he working with Bonuel, and they had many, many scenes about dreams. And Bonuel used to say, whenever we're running out of things to do, we shoot another dream. So Jean-Claude was always, so when he sent me the first draft of the script, I was like, what? This is really, but slowly I really understood his vision and the power of his scripts. And so he made it into 6 short stories, basically, and each short story has its own characters, a little bit like Jim Jarmusch's The Broken Flowers. Yes. And each short story has its own protagonist, heroes, dynamics, problems, all of that. The 3 of them go in and out. So it was quite conceptual. And Jean-Claude liked that idea that this film was going to be, and this was his last script. Yeah, actually Jean-Claude is married to an Iranian woman, and is very, very close to Golshifte Farahani, who's a friend of mine. And so over the years, I got to know him about another film, which he didn't want to work with me. He said, but this one, as soon as I explained the idea, he said, okay, I'm in. So we traveled to Paris many times working with him. And then at some point, he was getting ill. Shoja Azari finished off the script. But it's really his stamp on it.
Maybe last question. Okay.
Thank you. First of all, I like the way that you embrace all diversity and, both kind of good aspect as well as negative. I thought that it was very powerful in that sense. But the last image was quite, to me, dynamic, and there was a way out. The circle wasn't closed. So I wanted to know that how to interpret that. Do you have, or should we feel optimistic or pessimistic? I'm trying to understand that image.
It wasn't really, that final image, it wasn't meant to be a statement. I would say it was created based on emotions, and I really, and our luck, sorry. There was a powerful moment when we were filming and the wind picked up and started to take the images, the portraits around. And I often think about images of my own family that are gone, that I will never see again, and the images of people I photographed. And there is something so ephemeral and so sad, and yet so absolutely permanent reality that we're all gonna vanish, right? And this life will continue, and all will remain is our photographs. So for me is the circle of humanity, regardless of where we come from. And it's very painful because among those images are people we really love, and I almost don't want to even describe that final image in words, because I think it needs to affect you on a more mystical and more emotional level. Because all throughout the story, we try to talk about racism, injustice, corruption, conspiracy, all these very real things that was happening. And then the very final image, I wanted to just let go of all of those kinds of issues and just leave you with thoughts and feelings, you know. And I just couldn't help tonight but think about the people in Gaza, think about the people, you know, and people in the Middle East, and somehow those faces seem to be reduced to images, but they're not. Anyway, I just don't want to go on. I know we have very little time.
I'm going to actually ask with one final question. What are you working on now? This film was shot almost 3 years ago. So what is your ongoing project, new project?
Another crazy.
Oh, okay.
You know, I have become very obsessed with the stories of immigrants. My next film is also another story about an Iranian woman immigrant. And I'm not going to say very much about it, but it comes out with a vengeance this time. She's not the softie, but I wanted to continue because I feel like there's a lot to talk about in this country, and yet some of the issues that are happening in this country are quite universal at the same time. So I'm just trying to find my way toward another story. And I have to say, I was feeling sorry for all of you watching this film. I thought, this is such a demanding film because there's so many layers and so many, but I'm afraid that's the only kind of films that I can make that would be very demanding on your imagination.
Well, we look forward to seeing it when it's ready. Well, thank you so much, Shirin. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.